Anger is one of the most powerful and volatile emotions we experience as humans. It can ignite in a moment, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Broken relationships, regrettable words, and a lingering sense of guilt can haunt us long after the initial outburst. This intense emotion is deeply rooted in our nature, and throughout history it has been a constant companion. From the fierce battles of ancient warriors to the heated arguments in modern boardrooms, anger has always been a part of the human experience. But what if there were a way to overcome this potent emotion? What if, instead of being controlled by anger, could learn to master it? The answer lies in the wisdom of ancient philosophers, particularly the Stoic. Stoicism, philosophy that originated in ancient Greece, offers practical and timeless tools to help us manage our emotions, especially anger. In this video, we'll delve into 5 key Stoic strategies designed to help you overcome anger. These strategies are not just theoretical. They are practical techniques that can be applied in everyday life to navigate the storms of anger with greater calmness, clarity. The Stoics believed that while we cannot always control the events that happen to us, we can control how we respond to them. By mastering our responses, we can prevent anger from taking hold and dictating our actions. We'll explore how to recognize the root of your anger, how to shift your focus to what you can control, and how to prepare your mind for challenges before they arise. We'll also discuss the importance of distancing yourself from your emotions, gain a clearer perspective, and how cultivating empathy can transform your anger into understanding and compassion. By the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit of Stoic strategies that will empower you to transform your relationship with anger. These techniques will help you to remain calm and composed, even in the face of life's most challenging situation. With practice, you may find that anger no longer has the same grip on you, allowing you to live greater peace and tranquility. Before we dive in, I'd love for you to subscribe to Stoic Vogue. Unlock more wisdom and transform your life with a fresh dose of timeless Stoic insights delivered straight to you. Don't miss out on the path to inner peace and clarity. Number 1. Understanding the nature of anger. The Stoic perspective. Anger is a powerful and often destructive emotion, one that can arise quickly and with great intensity. For many of us, anger feels like an uncontrollable force, something that erupts when our patience wears thin, when we feel wronged, or when the world doesn't meet our expectations. Yet while anger might seem inevitable, the Stoics, a group of ancient philosophers known for their wisdom and practical advice on life, offer a different perspective. According to the Stoics, anger is not something that happens to us, rather something that arises from within, based on our own judgments and expectations about how things should be. At its core, anger stems from the belief that the world should align with our desires and expectations. When reality fails to meet these expectations, we react with frustration, resentment, and often anger. The Stoics, however, argue that it is not the external events themselves cause our anger, but our internal responses to them. This distinction is crucial because it means that we have the power to control our anger by changing the way we perceive and respond to the world around us. To understand how this works, let's start by examining the nature of expectations. Expectations are the mental frameworks we create about how things should be. We expect people to treat us with respect, we expect our plans to go smoothly, and we expect life to unfold in a certain way. These expectations are deeply ingrained, often forming the basis of our actions and decisions. However, when these expectations are not met, when someone is rude, when plans fall apart, or when life takes an unexpected turn, we experience a disconnect between what we thought should happen and what actually does happen. This disconnect is the breeding ground for anger. The Stoics teach us that our expectations are often unrealistic and that they set us up for disappointment and frustration. By holding on to rigid expectations, we essentially place conditions on our happiness and peace of mind. When those conditions are not met, we react with anger, blaming the world for not living up to our standards. But the Stoics challenge us to reconsider this approach. They suggest that instead of demanding that the world conforms to our expectations, we should adjust our expectations to align with the reality of the world. One of the most effective ways to manage anger, according to the Stoics, is to practice what they called the expectation check. This involves pausing when you feel anger rising and asking yourself a series of reflective questions. What expectation of mine is being violated? Is this expectation realistic or necessary? Should I adjust my expectations to better align with reality? By engaging in this kind of self-inquiry, you can begin to see that much of your anger is self-generated, a result of your own expectations rather than the actions of others or the events themselves. To illustrate this concept, let's consider the example of Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's most famous emperors and a key figure in Stoic philosophy. Marcus was a ruler who faced countless challenges, including betrayals, wars, personal tragedies. One particular incident involved a general who betrayed him, an act that could have easily provoked a violent and angry response. However, instead of reacting with fury, Marcus chose to reflect on the situation from a Stoic perspective. Marcus realized that while the general's betrayal was indeed a serious offense, it was not something he could control. The actions of others are beyond our influence. What we can control, however, is how we respond to them. Marcus understood that reacting with anger would not only cloud his judgment, but also lead to further conflict and suffering. Instead, he focused on what was within his power: his thoughts, actions, and his decision. By choosing to remain calm and rational, Marcus was able to address the betrayal in a way that was both effective and in line with his Stoic principles. This example demonstrates the power of reframing our expectations and taking control of our emotional responses. When we encounter situations that provoke anger, we can follow Marcus Aurelius's example by stepping back and considering the situation from a broader perspective. Is the person who has angered you acting out of their own ignorance or fear? Is the situation truly within your control, or are you allowing external events to dictate your emotions? By asking these questions, you can gain clarity and avoid the trap of anger. In addition to the expectation check, the Stoics also advocate for a practice known as negative visualization. This involves imagining the worst-case scenario in any given situation, not as a way to dwell on negative outcomes, but to prepare your mind for the possibility that things may not go as planned. By visualizing potential setbacks or disappointments, you reduce the shock and emotional impact when they occur, making it easier to respond calmly rather than with anger. For example, before a big presentation at work, you might mentally prepare yourself for the possibility that technology could fail, that your audience might be uninterested, or that you might stumble over your word. By acknowledging these possibilities ahead of time, you can approach the situation with a sense of acceptance and readiness, rather than being caught off guard and reacting with frustration if things don't go perfectly. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to anger is about shifting your mindset from one of rigid expectations to one of flexibility and acceptance. It's about recognizing that while you cannot control the world around you, you can control how you interpret and respond to it. By letting go of unrealistic expectations and embracing the Stoic principles of mindfulness, self-reflection, and emotional resilience, you can transform your relationship with anger. The next time you feel anger rising within you, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Pause, reflect on your expectations, and consider whether they are serving you or simply setting you up for frustration. Practice the expectation check and negative visualization to prepare yourself for life's inevitable challenges. By doing so, you'll find that anger loses its grip on you, allowing you to navigate life's storms with greater calmness, clarity, and inner peace. Number 2, embrace the power of dichotomy. Control what you can, accept what you cannot. One of the core tenets of Stoic philosophy is the idea of the dichotomy of control. This concept suggests that life is essentially divided into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot. The Stoics believe that much of our emotional turmoil, particularly anger, stems from trying to exert control over the uncontrollable, whether that be the actions of others, past events, or random occurrences that disrupt our lives. By understanding and accepting this dichotomy, we can significantly reduce the power that anger holds over us. Anger often arises when we attempt to control things that are by their nature beyond our influence. For instance, we might feel anger when someone else behaves in a way we find objectionable, when past mistakes continue to haunt us, or when unforeseen events derail our plans. These scenarios trigger anger because they violate our expectations of how things should be. But the Stoics teach us that it is precisely this desire to control the uncontrollable that leads to our emotional suffering. Counter this, the Stoics encourage us to focus our attention on what we can control: our own thoughts, actions, and reactions. This shift in focus is not about resigning ourselves to passivity, but about recognizing where our true power lies. By concentrating on what we can change, our attitudes, our decisions, and our responses to external events, we can navigate life with greater calmness and resilience. Anger finds no foothold when we accept that everything beyond our control is not worth our emotional energy. One of the most compelling examples of this Stoic principle in action comes from the life of Epictetus. Born a slave, Epictetus lived in circumstances that were largely beyond his control. His masters dictated his daily existence, and he endured physical pain due to a permanent disability. Despite these challenges, Epictetus did not succumb to bitterness or anger. Instead, he understood that while he could not control his external circumstances, he could control his mind and spirit. He chose to focus on his inner life, cultivating a sense of peace and resilience that allowed him to transcend the limitations imposed by his external situation. Epictetus's philosophy was rooted in the idea that true freedom comes from within. He famously taught that we are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. This perspective highlights the Stoic belief that our perceptions, rather than the events themselves, are the primary sources of our emotional states. By changing how we perceive and interpret external events, we can choose not to be disturbed by them. This internal freedom is the essence of Stoic wisdom and the key to overcoming anger. To apply this Stoic principle in your own life, consider practicing the circle of control exercise. This simple yet powerful technique helps you to distinguish between what you can and cannot control, thereby reducing the likelihood of anger taking hold. Here's how it works. Draw two circles. On a piece of paper, draw two circles, a smaller one inside a larger one. The smaller circle represents the things you can control, while the larger circle represents everything you cannot control. Identify the cause of your anger. When you feel anger arising, pause and identify what is causing it. Is it something someone said or did? Is it a situation that isn't going the way you expected? Or perhaps it's something from the past that continues to bother you. Place the cause in the appropriate circle. Once you've identified the cause of your anger, place it in one of the two circles. If the cause of your anger is something within your control, such as your own thoughts, actions, or responses, place it in the smaller circle. If it's something beyond your control, such as another person's behavior, a past event, or an unforeseen circumstance, place it in the larger circle. Take constructive action or let go. The cause of your anger is in the smaller circle. Think about constructive actions you can take to address it. This might involve changing your behavior, adjusting your expectations, or finding a different way to respond. However, if the cause is in the larger circle, remind yourself that it is beyond your control and not worth your emotional energy. Accept it and let it go, knowing that your peace of mind is more important than trying to control the uncontrollable. By regularly practicing the circle of control exercise, you can train yourself to focus on what truly matters, your own thoughts and actions, while letting go of the things that are beyond your influence. This not only helps to reduce anger, but also fosters a greater sense of inner peace and resilience. The dichotomy of control is a simple yet profound Stoic principle that can transform your approach to life. By embracing this concept, you learn to direct your energy towards what you can change and accept what you cannot. This shift in focus can prevent anger from taking root, allowing you to navigate life's challenges with greater calmness and clarity. In a world where so much is beyond our control, the Stoic emphasis on focusing on what we can control offers a powerful antidote to anger. It reminds us that while we may not be able to change the actions of others, past, or random events, we can always choose how we respond. And in that choice lies the true power to overcome anger and live a more peaceful, fulfilling life. Number 3. Practicing negative visualization. Prepare for the worst. Appreciate the present. Negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, is a powerful Stoic technique that involves contemplating the worst-case scenarios before they happen. While this may sound pessimistic or even counterproductive at first, it is in fact a practice rooted in wisdom and foresight. By mentally preparing for potential challenges, setbacks, and adversities, you can significantly reduce the emotional impact these events might have on you, particularly the likelihood of reacting with anger. This technique allows you to build resilience and maintain a calm, composed demeanor, even in the face of life's inevitable difficulties. The essence of negative visualization lies in anticipating the obstacles that could arise in your day-to-day life. Instead of being caught off guard by misfortune, you train your mind to expect and accept it as part of the human experience. This mental preparation doesn't mean that you become detached or indifferent. Rather, it enables you to meet challenges with a balanced and thoughtful response. By lowering your expectations of how smoothly things should go, you become less likely to be shocked or angered when reality falls short. The Stoic philosopher Seneca, who lived in the tumultuous environment of ancient Rome and served as an advisor to Emperor Nero, was a strong advocate of this practice. Seneca was no stranger to the volatility of life. He witnessed political upheaval, personal betrayals, and the constant threat of violence. Yet despite the chaos surrounding him, Seneca maintained a remarkable level of composure. One of the keys to his inner peace was his daily practice of negative visualization. Each morning, Seneca would spend time reflecting on the potential misfortunes that could befall him: exile, the loss of his wealth, the downfall of his reputation, or even death. By doing so, he mentally rehearsed how he would cope with these events if they came to pass. This practice wasn't about becoming detached or expecting the worst in a cynical sense. Instead, it was about cultivating a mindset that could withstand the unexpected. When misfortune did strike, as it inevitably did, Seneca was prepared. He met adversity with a calm mind and an unshaken spirit. His ability to remain unperturbed by external events became a powerful testament to the effectiveness of Stoic practice. Seneca's life demonstrated that by regularly engaging in negative visualization, one could maintain tranquility even in the most challenging circumstances. To incorporate negative visualization into your daily routine, begin each morning with a few minutes dedicated to this practice. Consider the day ahead and think about the challenges you might face: difficult conversation, potential setback at work, an unexpected disappointment, or even a minor inconvenience like traffic or a missed appointment. Instead of hoping that everything will go perfectly, consciously imagine how these situations might unfold in less than ideal ways. Visualize how you would handle these scenarios with grace and composure, focusing on maintaining your inner peace regardless of the outcome. For example, if you have a meeting where you anticipate a tough discussion, imagine how the conversation could become tense, or how the other person might react negatively. Picture yourself responding calmly, choosing your words carefully, and maintaining your composure even if things don't go as planned. By doing this mental rehearsal, you prepare yourself not only for the possibility of conflict, but also for the best way to respond to it. The beauty of negative visualization is that it doesn't leave you dwelling on negative thoughts or outcomes. Rather, it empowers you to face reality with a clear mind. And you mentally prepare for difficulties. You reduce their emotional impact when they actually occur. You are no longer blindsided by adversity, and anger loses its grip on you because you have already accepted the possibility of setback. In addition to preparing for specific events, negative visualization also encourages a broader perspective on life's uncertainty. By regularly contemplating the transient nature of life, such as the loss of material possessions, fragility of relationships, or the inevitability of death, you develop a deeper appreciation for the present moment and the things you currently have. This practice helps you recognize that much of what you fear losing is not as essential to your happiness and well-being as you might think. For instance, if you regularly visualize losing your job, you might find that your identity and self-worth are not solely tied to your career. This realization can diminish the fear and anger that might arise if you ever face such a situation in reality. Instead, you can approach it with a sense of acceptance and the resilience to move forward, knowing that you have already mentally prepared for this possibility. Moreover, negative visualization can enhance your gratitude for the present. By acknowledging the potential for loss or difficulty, you become more mindful of the things you currently enjoy. This heightened awareness leads to a greater appreciation of life's blessing, fostering a sense of contentment and reducing the likelihood of being overwhelmed by anger or frustration when things go awry. Incorporating negative visualization into your daily life is a simple yet profound way to build mental resilience and emotional stability. It's a practice that shifts your mindset from one of unrealistic expectations and entitlement to one of acceptance and preparedness. By regularly engaging in this exercise, you'll find that when challenges do arise, you are better equipped to handle them with calmness and clarity. Anger, which often stems from the shock of unmet expectations, will have little room to take root in a mind that is already prepared for life's uncertainty. Ultimately, negative visualization is not about pessimism. It's about empowerment. It's a proactive approach to life that enables you to face whatever comes your way with equanimity. By embracing this Stoic technique, you can transform your relationship with adversity, reduce your susceptibility to anger, and cultivate a more peaceful, resilient, and fulfilling life. Number 4, the art of self-distancing. See yourself from the outside. Anger is an emotion that can consume us quickly, often blinding us to the bigger picture. When we're in the throes of anger, we tend to be so close to the situation that we lose our ability to see it clearly. Our emotions take the driver's seat, steering us toward impulsive reactions that we might later regret. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy known for its practical wisdom, offers a powerful tool to counter this tendency: practice of detachment, or viewing ourselves and our emotions from a distance, as if we were observers rather than participants. This concept of detachment is crucial in managing anger because it allows us to gain clarity and objectivity. When you step back from the immediate emotion, you can see the situation for what it truly is, rather than what it feels like in the heat of the moment. This mental distance creates space for thoughtful responses instead of knee-jerk reactions. It helps you move from being a reactor to being a responder. A subtle but profound shift can transform how you deal with anger. To better understand this, imagine yourself as an actor in a play, with the stage being your life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus often used this analogy to teach his students about the importance of perspective. In this metaphor, life is a series of scenes where each person has a specific role to perform. When anger strikes, it's as if your character is facing a particularly challenging scene. Rather than getting lost in the emotion of the moment, pause and ask yourself, how would my character, a Stoic sage, respond in this situation? This mental shift from being fully immersed in the emotion to viewing it as part of a larger narrative helps you detach from the intensity of the moment. You begin to see yourself not just as the person experiencing the anger, but as someone observing it, analyzing it, and choosing how best to respond. This approach can lead to more measured, rational decisions, reducing the likelihood of saying or doing something you might later regret. One practical way to implement this Stoic principle is through what we can call the observer technique. When you feel anger starting to rise, take a mental step back. Imagine that you are watching the situation unfold as if you were a bystander. How does the scene look from this outside perspective? What are the key elements at play? What might you be missing if you were too close to see clearly? This mental distancing allows you to assess the situation more objectively. Now, consider what advice you would give if you were counseling a friend in this same situation. Often, when we think about how we would advise someone else, we tap into our wiser, more rational selves. We can see the situation without the clouding effect of our own emotions, which is precisely what we need when we're feeling angry. By applying this perspective to your own life, you can begin to respond with the same wisdom and restraint that you would offer to a friend. For example, imagine you are at work and a colleague makes a remark that you find offensive. Your immediate reaction might be anger, and you might feel the urge to snap back or confront them on the spot. However, if you use the observer technique, you pause and mentally step outside of yourself. You see the situation from an outsider's point of view. Perhaps you notice that your colleague is under stress, or that the remark, while irritating, isn't worth escalating into a conflict. From this detached perspective, you can choose a more thoughtful response, maybe addressing the issue calmly later, or perhaps letting it go altogether. The value of this Stoic approach is that it allows you to break the cycle of impulsive reaction. Anger, when left unchecked, can lead to a spiral of negative emotions and actions, often making the situation worse. But by stepping back and viewing the situation with a Stoic lens, you gain the clarity needed to break that cycle. You empower yourself to respond with calmness and control, even when provoked. Another benefit of this technique is that it reduces the long-term impact of anger. When you respond impulsively, you often create more problems for yourself: damaged relationships, added stress, and lingering guilt. By contrast, when you respond with detachment and thoughtfulness, you are more likely to handle the situation in a way that resolves the issue without unnecessary drama. This not only preserves your peace of mind, but also enhances your relationships and overall well-being. Incorporating the practice of detachment into your daily life doesn't require grand changes. It's about small, consistent efforts to shift your perspective. The next time you feel anger bubbling up, remind yourself to step back. View the situation from a distance, as if you were an observer, not just a participant. Ask yourself how a wise, Stoic sage would handle the situation. What would they say? How would they act? What would they choose to let go of? By regularly practicing this technique, you'll find that anger no longer has the same power over you. Instead of being swept away by your emotions, you'll be able to navigate them with greater ease and wisdom. This Stoic practice of detachment transforms anger from a destructive force into an opportunity for growth and self-control, leading you toward a more peaceful and balanced life. Number 5. Cultivating compassion and empathy. Understand the human condition. The Stoic philosophy, rooted in the understanding of human nature and our interconnectedness, offers profound insights into managing anger. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the belief that all humans are part of a greater whole, bound together by our shared existence and common struggles. This perspective encourages us to see beyond our personal grievances and recognize the deeper motivations behind the actions of others. When we understand that those who wrong us are often acting out of ignorance, fear, or pain, we can replace anger with compassion, transforming our response from one of hostility to one of empathy. Anger often arises from a sense of personal affront, feeling that we have been wronged or treated unfairly. However, the Stoics teach us to shift our perspective, moving away from a self-centered view of the world toward a broader, more compassionate understanding of human behavior. When someone acts in a way that angers us, it's crucial to remember that their actions are likely driven by their own internal struggles. They might be reacting out of fear, driven by pain, or acting on irrational desires that cloud their judgment. By recognizing this, we can begin to see the person behind the action and respond with kindness rather than anger. One of the most powerful examples of this Stoic approach comes from Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and a prominent Stoic philosopher. In his personal writings, known as Meditations, Marcus often reflected on the nature of those who wronged him. He understood that everyone, including those who hurt or offend us, is fighting their own battles. These battles might be invisible to us, but they are real and often drive people to act in ways that are harmful or unjust. Marcus reminded himself that it was not the people themselves who were inherently bad, but rather their lack of wisdom or understanding that led them to act poorly. By adopting this perspective, Marcus Aurelius was able to respond to others with patience and understanding instead of anger. He saw the common humanity in everyone, even in those who opposed him or caused him harm. This practice not only helped him maintain his inner peace, but also improved his relationships and leadership. Instead of reacting impulsively or harshly, he approached situations with a calm and measured response, rooted in empathy. To apply this Stoic wisdom in your own life, consider practicing what we can call the compassionate reframe. The next time someone angers you, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what might this person be going through that has led them to act this way? How would I feel if I were in their shoes? This simple exercise helps you step outside of your immediate emotional reaction and consider the broader context of the other person's behavior. For instance, imagine a colleague at work snaps at you during a meeting. Your initial reaction might be anger or defensiveness, feeling unjustly attacked. However, by applying the compassionate reframe, you might consider that this colleague is under significant stress, perhaps dealing with pressures at home or feeling overwhelmed by their workload. Recognizing that their outburst is more about their own struggles than about you can help diffuse your anger and open the door to a more constructive and empathetic response. Instead of responding with hostility, you might choose to offer support or simply let the comment slide, knowing it wasn't a personal attack. This practice of reframing situations with compassion is not about excusing bad behavior or allowing others to treat you poorly. Instead, it's about understanding the underlying causes of that behavior and choosing a response that aligns with your values and promotes peace rather than conflict. By responding with empathy, you not only protect your own peace of mind, but also create an opportunity for positive change in your interactions with others. Moreover, the compassionate reframe is a powerful tool for personal growth. It encourages you to cultivate qualities like patience, understanding, and forgiveness, which are central to Stoic practice. Over time, as you consistently apply this approach, you may find that your tolerance for anger diminishes. You become more resilient to the actions of others, seeing them not as personal affronts, but as opportunities to practice empathy and compassion. This shift in perspective can also have a ripple effect on your relationship. When you respond to others with understanding rather than anger, you create an environment of trust and respect. People are more likely to respond positively to you when they feel understood rather than judged. This doesn't mean you have to agree with or condone their actions, but by approaching them with compassion, you foster a more constructive and harmonious interaction. In conclusion, the Stoic approach to managing anger through compassion is a powerful and transformative practice. By recognizing that we are all part of a greater whole and understanding the shared nature of our existence, we can diminish our anger and replace it with empathy. The next time you find yourself on the verge of anger, remember the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and practice the compassionate reframe. By doing so, you can diffuse your anger, respond with kindness, and ultimately create a more peaceful and fulfilling life for yourself and those around you. Overcoming anger is not about suppressing or ignoring your emotions. It's about transforming them into opportunities for growth and self-improvement. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy known for its practical wisdom, offers 5 key strategies to help you manage anger and navigate life's challenges with greater peace and balance. Understanding, control, preparation, detachment, and compassion. By applying these strategies, you can learn to respond to life's provocations with a calm mind and a steady heart, rather than reacting impulsively. First strategy is understanding the root cause of anger. Anger often arises when reality doesn't meet our expectations, whether it's an unmet desire, an unforeseen obstacle, or someone else's behavior that we find frustrating. The Stoics teach us to recognize this pattern and question it. When you feel anger building, ask yourself, what expectation of mine has been violated? Is this expectation realistic or necessary? By understanding that our emotions are often triggered by unrealistic expectations, we can begin to see anger for what it is, a temporary response that we can choose to manage rather than let it control us. The second strategy is control, focusing on what is within our power. Many of the things that anger us are beyond our control, such as other people's actions, past events, or random occurrences. The Stoics remind us that while we can't control these external factors, we can control our own thoughts, reactions, and decisions. By shifting our focus from what we can't change to what we can, we take back control over our emotional responses. This doesn't mean we ignore the situation. Rather, we address it with a clear and composed mindset, making decisions that are rooted in wisdom rather than anger. Preparation is the third Stoic strategy. The Stoics practiced a technique called premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils, where they mentally prepared themselves for potential challenges and setbacks. By anticipating possible difficulties, you reduce the shock when they occur, making it easier to maintain your composure. For example, if you know that a difficult conversation is ahead, take a moment to visualize the worst-case scenario and how you would handle it with grace. This mental rehearsal helps you face challenges with greater resilience, preventing anger from taking hold. Detachment is the fourth strategy. When anger arises, it's often because we're too close to the situation to see it objectively. Stoicism encourages us to take a step back and view the situation from a distance, as if we were an observer rather than a participant. This mental detachment allows you to gain clarity and respond thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively. Imagine watching the situation unfold as if it were happening to someone else. What advice would you give them? By distancing yourself from the immediate emotion, you can make decisions that are in line with your long-term goals and values, rather than being driven by short-term emotions. Finally, compassion is the fifth strategy. The Stoics teach us that all humans are part of a greater whole, and that understanding our shared nature can diminish anger. When someone wrongs you, it's often because they are acting out of ignorance, fear, or pain. By recognizing this, you can replace anger with compassion, seeing others as fellow human beings struggling with their own challenges. This shift in perspective helps you respond with kindness rather than anger, preserving your peace of mind and improving your relationships. The ultimate goal of Stoicism is not to become emotionless, but to cultivate a life of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When anger arises, see it as an opportunity to practice these virtues. With time and consistent practice, you'll find that anger loses its power over you. Instead of being overwhelmed by it, you'll be able to navigate life's provocations with calmness and equanimity. This approach not only helps you manage anger, but also enriches your entire life, leading to deeper personal growth and stronger, more harmonious relationships. Thank you for joining this journey of personal growth and emotional mastery. If you found this exploration of Stoic philosophy helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Vogue for more content on practical wisdom for modern living. May you continue to find peace and tranquility on your path to overcoming anger.